Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Dr. Henna, the founder of ADC Aspirants. Today's video is extremely special. Why? Because we are going to be answering all your most commonly asked questions about the ADC written examination. Yes, the Australian Dental Council Part 1 examination or the theory examination. We are going to cover a whole range of topics about the written examination, starting from when does it occur, where does it occur, what is the fees, etc. etc. So without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. One of the most commonly asked questions by candidates or overseas dentists are, am I eligible for the ADC Part 1 exam or not? In order to be eligible, you have to have a verified initial assessment. What does that mean? ADC has on their website given a list of documents that you need to upload on their website, and they will take around 6 to 8 weeks for the entire process and then let you know or notify you whether you're eligible or not. The second thing and the most important thing is you need to have a permanent registration or a degree or a license to be able to state that you are a dentist in your native country. It doesn't mean that you can apply with your provisional degree. It has to be your permanent degree. I get a lot of queries from various interns who are probably doing their house jobs or haven't finished their degrees yet, and they ask me whether they're eligible or not. The answer is no. You need to have your permanent degree. Another question that many candidates ask are, when does the exam occur? So the Australian Dental Council written examination occurs basically twice in a year, in the month of March and in the month of September. So far in the past 14 or 15 years, ever since we have been coaching for the ADC exams, this pattern has not changed. Another important question that many people have is, what is the fees for the examination? How much should I be spending on these exams? Let me tell you, in all of our videos on our channel, we try to stay away from stating or quoting any fees. Why? Because it may change. The fees usually gets revised every now and then, and it's just, it takes a minute for you to just go on the ADC website and check out the fee schedule. If you want, we can also send in a link, or we can attach a link where you can directly go to the fee schedule and find out the fee for yourself. The next and the most important question, which is asked by so many people every now and then. How long do I need to prepare for these exams? I just have 3 months left. Or sometimes people contact us and say that I'm thinking of giving this exam after 2 years. Should I start preparing now? I have a very generic answer to all these questions. The day you decide that you wish to practice dentistry in Australia is the day you start preparing for it. Make sense? Let me break it down for you. If you're somebody who has recently graduated, or you're even doing your house job, or during your internship period, start preparing for the exams. It doesn't need a special day or a special occasion for you to pick up those books or those references and start preparing for Australian Dental Council examinations. The journey is always ongoing. If you're somebody who is a very busy practitioner with very less time to spare for your studies, I would recommend give more time. Tell yourself that I'm going to appear for this exam 1 year later, and now is the time when I start preparing for it. On an average, I have told all my candidates, all the dentists who approach us, give yourself on an average 6 to 9 months. At least this much amount of time period, nothing less than this, because the syllabus or the amount of reading that you have to do can be quite overwhelming, and it just comes down to that one point: revision. How much are you able to revise? That's what matters in the end. So to be answering this in a very precise manner, 6 to 9 months on an average is what a general dentist or anyone needs to prepare for these exams. If you can devote more time, well and good. We've also had candidates who've spent just 3 months with us, done our crash courses, and they've passed. But that doesn't mean that is the shortcut that you're supposed to take. You know yourself better. Another frequently asked question is, how long do I have after clearing my written examination until I can appear for the Part 2 or the practical exam? The answer is pretty simple. You get 3 years. In those 3 years, you can prepare and appear for the examination. On an average, a candidate gets somewhere about 3 to 4 attempts, not more than that. Probably if you miss out on the dates, you might just get, 2 attempts or even 1 attempt if you miss out on the next available date for yourself. Now, coming to one of the most frequently asked questions again is, what is the pattern of the written examination? What do I need to study? What does it consist of? So to answer that, let's go back a bit. Way back in 2011, when we started off with the ADC Part 1 coaching, the scenarios and the patterns were way different than what it is today. We had short answer questions with some MCQs thrown in between. But right now, we are dealing with only scenario-based questions. So what are these scenario-based questions and what do they consist of? Imagine you're a dentist. You don't have to imagine that you are a dentist. You're sitting in your clinic and a patient walks in with pain in his lower right molar, let's say 4-7. And you have to examine the patient, you have to take a proper history, and then your next step is investigations where you're doing your x-rays, you're doing your thermal tests, and you're doing your clinical examination. The next step is arriving at a diagnosis, wherein you're telling the patient it could be this, this, or this. And the last step is the treatment and evaluation and the review. That's pretty much what scenario-based questions are. Now, I know I've made it sound very simple, but here we are dealing with a lot of topics. We're dealing with oral pathology, we're dealing with prosthodontics, we're dealing with endodontics, periodontics, and a lot more other things. So scenario-based questions are basically scenarios which are broken down in the form of multiple choice questions. So each scenario will have around 4 to 5 sub-questions with options, and in the exam, what you've got to do is choose the most correct option that you can. Now, thankfully, there is no negative marking so far, and we are recording this in 2025, so hopefully it stays like that for the next couple of years or forever. But you get the advantage of answering questions and marking your options without thinking about losing some marks. Now, if some of you have gone through the ADC website, they've given us a blueprint of the examination, which can be quite confusing, I agree. In our orientation lectures during the coaching that we provide, we break down that blueprint and we tell you about what clusters are and what do they individually stand for and how you should prepare for them. Some people often ask us what kind of questions are asked, where do I study from? That's a separate topic for discussion altogether, to be honest. But just to give you a nutshell, you have various resources, and honestly, textbooks in dentistry all over the world are pretty much the same. So without being overwhelmed, you can go to the ADC website, check out their resources, and see what best books you can catch hold of to start your preparation. Another important thing about the written examination is that it's held over a period of 2 days. So the first day you have the exam, which is divided into cluster 1 and 2. And the second day again, you've got the same thing, but the clusters are 3 and 4. So what are these clusters? They're professionalism and health promotion, your investigations or clinical information and gathering, and then the next one is your diagnosis and management, and the last one is clinical treatment and evaluation. It doesn't mean that you have to prepare according to the clusters only. The exam is pretty much a mixture of all these clusters, and all the scenario-based questions are generally asked in a very mixed format. You get 2 hours for each cluster, and there are roughly around 70 to 80 questions which you have to answer in such a time period. In this segment now, we're going to be talking about how ADC Aspirants is going to help you in your journey with the written examination. The first and foremost thing to remember and to tell you is that ADC Aspirants will guide you till the day of your written examination and also till the day you clear it. You've heard it right. Having gone through the struggle and the difficulties of the examination, I understand what it means to spend money and to spend your time and effort on a very, I would say, stressful exam like ADC. So we do not charge you in case you miss out on clearing the exam in the first attempt. We help you till you pass the written examination. Now, having said that, we really hope and pray that everyone clears this exam in the first go. But at the end of the day, this is an examination and nobody can guarantee results, right? It can be unpredictable, but we will not let go of your side and we will help you until you pass the written examination. How do we give you all the material that is required? The textbooks, the journals, the references, the ADA articles, everything is shared in the form of ebooks or soft copies. I have a very strong recommendation. If you are someone who is in a habit of reading through textbooks physically, which means hard copies, I would like you to start switching onto computer-based preparation. I know, I'm old school like that as well, but I've had to change over the years. You have to remember that this is an exam which is completely computer-based. You've got to stare at the screen for more than 1 hour constantly. So the exam, every cluster is for 2 hours. You can't be just staring at the screen if you don't have a practice of doing that already. Believe me when I say this, I've had my dentists call me and tell me that I ended up with a migraine staring at the screen for so long because I'm just not used to it. So that's a very strong advice that I would like to give you. Start making your laptop, your iPads, your devices your best friends when you start preparing for the ADC exams. Another way we constantly help you analyze where you stand, what's your weakness and what is your strength is through mocks. Yes, we give you mocks, and more mocks. Look, when you start preparing for any examination, it's very easy to just keep reading and moving on to the next thing. But how will you know where you've gotten better at and where you really need more preparation? With the help of these mocks. So the day you join, you start getting mini mocks every week. What are mini mocks? Basically, they are very small mocks containing 3 to 4 scenario-based questions, but touching base upon the most important topics which are usually a part of the written examination. And that helps you analyze where you stand at the end of the day. Also, during the last 3 months, you get regular mocks with around 10 to 12 scenario-based questions as you would be getting in the exam. So you get a fair bit of an idea on how you will be timing yourself in your exams. Not just that, you get 2 ADC simulated exams. What does that mean? It's basically computer-based, so you have the option of changing your answers, flagging your questions, and just, getting an idea that the timer will be ticking and you are there answering the question. So basically simulating the entire ADC environment is what we want to provide through these ADC simulated mocks. Our team is completely devoted and helpful in providing you the support that you need for the exams. How do we do that? We have a wonderful team of mentors wherein we get together and we make scenarios. We give you questions every day to practice from except for weekends, and we help you when you feel the need to reach out to anyone and share what your doubts and your queries are. I understand preparing for an exam is not the most easy thing to do, especially when you're struggling with a lot of things. It could be your household, it could be your work, it could be your children, it could be your duties, but at the end of the day, you need someone to fall back upon when you're preparing for such an important exam of your life. Our mentors are based all over the world and they have passed this written examination with flying colors, mostly in their first attempts. So how they can help you is not just by answering your queries one-on-one, but also by providing you those additional tips and tricks they followed to pass this examination. As I mentioned earlier, we have a beautiful, supportive WhatsApp community. What does that do? Imagine that you're somebody who's working from 9 to 5, you come back home, you've got a lot of things to do, and 1 or 2 days pass by and you haven't studied anything. Panic starts creeping in and you start wondering, is it the right step that I took? What do you have in your hand all the time throughout the day? It's your phone. When you open your phone and when you get questions or data on your WhatsApp group, you will sit down for 5 to 10 minutes and go through that, the references, the answers and everything. That is what is going to help you in your preparation. Now, it's not the best way to study for these examinations. I'm not advocating that at all. But my concern is about those dentists who really struggle with time. So even if you don't study for a day or two, or if you just go through these WhatsApp questions, you get there. At least you end up gaining some knowledge compared to gaining nothing at all. Our video and audio lectures, some of the candidates, actually most of them, they really have given us heaps of praises for these lectures. It's been a game changer for them during their revision. When you have the last 2 weeks left and you don't know what to revise, there's just so much, and you don't feel like going through those huge textbooks or the study notes, etc. All you have to do is plug on your headphones, go for a walk, listen to the audio notes, listen to the video lectures, and keep revising. That is what is going to help you in the last 1 month or maybe a couple of weeks of your examination. And last but not the least, the most important thing that you need for the ADC written examination, or maybe throughout your ADC journey, is constant motivation and counseling. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I've spoken to people who have cried, who have let their hearts out, who've emoted with me in every way possible, because I understand. Having gone through this rigorous process myself, and the whole burden, financial, emotional, mental, anything, it can be overwhelming. So I tell my candidates, you can always reach out to us for any sort of counseling, not just related to the exam, and we can help you in whatever way possible. And that's how we build a very strong, supportive community. Thank you so much for listening to this entire video, and I hope that this answers most of your questions about the written examination. If you have more, feel free to reach out. Bye!